The January 6th committee held an unexpected hearing today, and the panel presented newly obtained evidence from Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide to Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. She says former President Donald Trump wanted to march with the crowd to the Capitol, and Trump was allegedly informed that it was not safe to do so because of rally goers and that fact that they were armed. But Hutchinson says he did not care, saying they weren't there to hurt him.
I saw Mr. Cipollone right before I walked out onto West Exec that morning, and Mr. Cipollone said something to the effect of, "Please make sure we don't go up to the Capitol, Cassidy. Keep in touch with me. We're going to get charged with every crime imaginable if we make that movement happen."
Some powerful words there. Hutchinson added that Trump was so furious that the Secret Service wouldn't drive him to the Capitol that he actually tried to grab the wheel from the driver. Now, joining me is, of course, to discuss this and some other things, Dr. Caroline Helbing, critical theory and social justice professor at Occidental College. Thank you for joining us. You just heard that there, Dr. Helbing, some explosive allegations made from Ms. Hutchinson. Tell us the significance of this testimony. This seems to be powerful and riveting.
Well, the surprise hearing for the Watergate hearings, in 1973, they added one in and said, last minute, we have this explosive evidence, and it was the tapes. So today we are getting something similar with Cassidy Hutchinson, who had a front row seat to what happened in the days leading up to and on the day of the violent insurrection. And the picture she paints is simply shocking. She provides evidence that the president and Mark Meadows, her boss, the chief of staff, and others in the circle knew that there was going to be violence that day, that there were going to be armed people coming to the Capitol. She also laid out that when they were on the lawn, in the essentially backstage before Trump spoke, that he was aware that there was heavy weaponry, guns, knives, batons, spears, etc., and that there were a lot of people who were staying outside of the metal detectors because they didn't want these weapons taken away from them. And Trump actually said, "No, remove them. I want a bigger audience." So it means that she has drawn the link between Trump calling folks to D.C. that day and other right-wing commentators calling them there, and knowing that they were going to enact violence and then telling them to go to the Capitol. This is really damning testimony for Trump's inner circle and Trump himself.
Yeah, you mentioned it. There's kind of a line between just saying, hey, we're going to go there and we're going to, I don't know, get excited and rally folks up. But then it's also when weapons are involved, folks were there to do some harm. Now, do you expect Mark Meadows himself to have to testify after hearing from his former aide?
Well, I would suspect that he would be pleading the fifth, because if even a fraction of what Cassidy has introduced is reality, then he would be self-incriminating, right? It is surprising. I think it is shocking to hear about what happened leading up to it. And also, the evidence that while the violence was unfolding, Mark Meadows was telling Pat Cipollone and other folks that the president didn't want to do anything. And specifically, Cassidy testified that Mark Meadows said that President Trump didn't want to respond to the violence against Pence because he didn't think the protesters were doing anything wrong and that Pence deserved it. So really shocking context for the violence that unfolded on January 6th.
Well, and I kind of ended here on this one at least. What comes next? Is there more? We just talked about maybe Mark Meadows, that you said he'd taken the fifth, but what about anyone else? Any other things that you think they'd want to explore? Any different avenues or any other guests?
I would suspect that in July, we are going to see quite a bit of, evidence around what Trump was saying and thinking at the time, specifically Alex Holder, the documentarian who has 11 hours of footage from Trump and his inner circle in the days leading up to and after January 6th.
Yes, again, you just mentioned, won't say it's Watergate, but I'm saying it is definitely some explosive stuff there for sure from Cassidy Hutchinson. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Helbing, we'll have you on next week as well.
Thank you, Kelvin. Wonderful to see you.